Think you know the Mafia? Forget about it. From the blood-soaked streets of Sicily to the neon jungles of Vegas, we're counting down the top 10 most powerful Mafia bosses in history. And stick around for number 1. He ran a global empire without ever firing a gun. Let's get into it. Number 10. Paul Castellano, the godfather of greed. Most mobsters made their name with bullets. Paul Castellano, he did it with briefcases and pork chops. This was a guy who turned the Gambino family into a corporate crime machine, and he hated violence. His empire, built on white-collar crime, construction scams, union rackets, and selling overpriced meat from his own butcher company. Castellano made millions with pens, not pistols, and dressed like he ran a Fortune 500 company, not a criminal empire. While his underboss John Gotti was out on the streets, running the traditional mob playbook, Castellano was sipping espresso in his mansion, literally designed with an intercom system for his butler. The crew hated it. They saw him as out of touch, a boss more obsessed with filet mignon than fear. The final straw, he skipped his own captain's funeral and got too greedy with a new drug deal. Gotti made his move. On December 16, 1985, Castellano was gunned down in broad daylight outside Sparks Steakhouse. Turns out, if you're gonna run the Mafia like a business, you'd better watch out for hostile takeovers. Number 9. Albert Anastasia, the Lord High Executioner. You've heard of the Grim Reaper. Now meet the man who hired him. Albert Anastasia didn't just kill people, he institutionalized murder. As head of Murder Inc., the Mafia's national hit squad, he ran a network of professional killers who eliminated anyone who got in the way. Cops, snitches, rivals, didn't matter. If Albert gave the order, you vanished. He was terrifying because he didn't flinch. One story says a man insulted him once. Albert strangled him on the spot, then went back to dinner like it was no big deal. He was brutal, unpredictable, and loyal only to the mob's bloody code. But Anastasia wasn't just a thug. He was a power player, climbing the ranks to become head of the Gambino family. Problem was, his paranoia grew with his power. He started seeing betrayal everywhere, and in the Mafia, paranoia becomes prophecy. Lesson? In the Mafia, live by the hit, die by the hit. Number 8. Frank Lucas, the American gangster. Frank Lucas wasn't born into the Mafia, he out-hustled it. Growing up in the Jim Crow South, Lucas saw his cousin murdered by the Klan. That lit a fire in him, and when he moved to Harlem, he didn't just want money, he wanted control. While the Mafia was selling stepped-on heroin, Frank was going straight to the source, Thailand, and importing 99% pure blue magic heroin. His genius? He smuggled it inside the coffins of US soldiers coming home from Vietnam. Yeah, you heard that right. While Gambino and 𝐬𝐿ZE bosses were wearing suits in Midtown, Frank was pulling in $1 million a day from a brownstone in Harlem. He was flashy, that infamous $100,000 chinchilla coat. Big mistake. It caught the eye of a detective named Richie Roberts, and the hunt was on. His legacy? Complex, ruthless dealer, or anti-hero genius. Number 7. Salvatore Riina, the Beast. Salvatore Riina didn't just lead the Sicilian Mafia, he terrorized Italy. This guy made Capone look like a Cub Scout. They called him the Beast because, well, he acted like one. Riina grew up in extreme poverty, joined the Mafia as a teenager, and quickly rose through the ranks not because he was smart, but because he was the most ruthless man in the room. Under his reign, the Corleonesi clan ordered over 150 murders, including bombings that killed judges, cops, and politicians. He didn't just kill people, he obliterated them. One story, he dissolved a teenager in acid because the kid's dad was a snitch. Another, he blew up a judge's convoy on a public highway. No remorse, no mercy. His capture was a national event, but even behind bars, Riina was still issuing orders, controlling the Mafia from a prison cell. A Mafia boss? Sure, but really Riina was a one-man war machine. Number 6. Meyer Lansky, the mob's accountant. No guns, no blood, just numbers. Meyer Lansky didn't kill people, he controlled people who killed people. This quiet, brainy Jewish kid from Manhattan became the financial brain behind the American Mafia. While Luciano and Capone were lighting cigars and throwing parties, Lansky was in the back room counting millions and moving it through offshore banks. His specialty? Money laundering before it even had a name. Meyer ran illegal casinos from Las Vegas to Havana, helping fund the mob's empire. He knew how to make money vanish, and he made it rain when the families needed it. And unlike most gangsters, he wasn't greedy or flashy. He never wore gaudy suits or drew attention to himself. When he died in 1983, they estimated his fortune at over $300 million, but the IRS could only trace $57,000. That's Lansky. He didn't leave bodies, he left balance sheets. In a world full of muscle and madness, he ruled with math. Number 5. Lucky Luciano, the architect of the American Mafia. This guy didn't just run the Mafia, he invented it. Charles Lucky. Luciano took a bunch of street gangs and turned them into a nationwide criminal corporation. Before Luciano, the Mafia was a chaotic mess of turf wars and old-school grudges. After him, it was an organized syndicate with a board of directors called the Commission. That's right, he gave the mob a corporate structure. He was basically the Steve Jobs of organized crime. He made peace between rival families. He brokered billion-dollar rackets across cities. And he had style, tailored suits, silver-tongued speeches, and a reputation for being both charming and terrifying. But Lucky wasn't lucky forever. He got hit with a 30 to 50-year sentence for running a prostitution ring. Still, even behind bars, he made a deal with the US Navy to protect New York ports from German saboteurs during World War II. The reward? He got deported to Italy, where he still ran operations until the day he died. Number 4. Pablo Escobar, the king of cocaine. Technically, Pablo Escobar wasn't a mafia boss in the traditional sense, but when you're bringing in more money than General Motors, we're making an exception. Escobar didn't run a mob family, he ran a narco empire. At his peak, this man was raking in $420 million a week. His cartel supplied 80% of the world's cocaine, and he was personally worth over $30 billion. And that's 1990s money. But Pablo wasn't just rich, he was absolutely insane. He built his own prison, literally. It had a nightclub, waterfall, and zoo. He burned $2 million in cash just to keep his daughter warm. In 1993, his luck ran out. A special task force tracked him to a rooftop in Medellin and ended the reign of the most feared drug lord in history. Escobar was so powerful, he didn't just break the law, he rewrote the definition of crime itself. Number 3. John Gotti, the Dapper Don. If the Mafia had a Hollywood casting call, John Gotti would land the lead role. Silk suits, perfect hair, swag for days, and a smile that said, "Yeah, I might kill you, but I'll look fantastic doing it." Gotti rose through the Gambino family ranks the old-fashioned way, with brutality and charisma. In 1985, he took out his own boss, Paul Castellano, in a hit so bold it shocked the underworld. In one night, Gotti went from captain to king of the most powerful crime family in America. But he didn't hide in the shadows. No, Gotti loved the spotlight. He showed up to court in $1,000 suits, flashing smiles and waving to cameras. Reporters nicknamed him the Dapper Don, and when he kept beating charges, he became the Teflon Don. Nothing stuck. John Gotti proved that crime does pay, until it doesn't. Number 2. Al Capone, the original gangster. Say the word gangster, and one name echoes louder than the rest. Al Capone, the fedora, the cigar, the Tommy gun. He didn't invent organized crime, but he made it iconic. Capone ruled Chicago during Prohibition, turning bootlegging into a billion-dollar business. His empire ran speakeasies, brothels, gambling dens, and every cop and politician was either on his payroll or in his crosshairs. By 1927, he was reportedly making $100 million a year, the equivalent of over $1.7 billion today. But here's the kicker, the government couldn't pin the murders on him. So what did they do? They got him for tax evasion. Yeah. After all the bootlegging and bloodshed, it was the IRS that brought down the most feared man in America. But his myth, it lives on. Al Capone was the first true celebrity gangster, and we've been chasing his ghost ever since. Number 1. Vito Genovese, the Don of Dons. He wasn't the flashiest, he wasn't the most violent, but when it came to raw power, Vito Genovese sat at the top of the food chain. This man played the long game, and he played it like a grandmaster. Born in Italy, raised in New York, Genovese climbed the mob ladder with ruthless efficiency. He served under Lucky Luciano, helped build the 5 families, even spent time hiding in Italy during World War II, where he cozied up to Mussolini's fascists. Yeah, the guy literally flipped sides in a world war and still came out on top. When Luciano got deported, Genovese saw his chance. He eliminated rivals, manipulated alliances, and finally seized control of the family that would one day bear his name, the Genovese crime family. But Vito didn't just want to be a boss, he wanted to be the boss of all bosses. So in 1957, he called a meeting of over 100 mob leaders in upstate New York, the infamous Appalachian Conference. His plan, unify the Mafia under one supreme leader, himself. Genovese never got the crown he craved, but make no mistake, he built the empire that every mobster inherited. He was the blueprint for power, and that's why he's number 1. These bosses weren't just criminals. They were architects of empire, fear, and fortune. Some died in a hail of bullets, others died in bed. Until next time, stay sharp and stay out of the family business.